Okay, so this class we talk about the instructional objective or outcome. Okay, so the outcome of these lectures, this half an hour lectures will be, after these lectures you should have a skill to identify the condition component, criteria component and performance component of a given outcome. So, what skill I want from you after this half an hour lectures? That suppose if I give you an outcome, you should able to find out, okay, this to this is condition component, this to this is performance component and this to this is criteria components. Okay. Next outcome is use whatever learning taxonomy you have already learned to how to write instructional objective or outcome. That is why this lecture is very important. So, after these lectures, we will be able to write down the instructional objective or outcome of your own course using Bloom's taxonomy. Okay. Or you know, or you have a skill how to use Bloom's taxonomy to write an outcome of your course, maybe course level or chapter level or lecture level, whatever, but you should able to write down. Okay. So, those two skills will be developed after these lectures. Okay. Now, I come to the lectures. So, instructional objective or outcome. Sometimes the common confusion is that when I say course objective or program objective and program outcome or course outcome. So, if I say learning objective or learning goal, that is different from instructional objective or outcome. If it is instructional objective, then it is outcome. So, when you writing the course objective in the principle of instructional objective, it becomes outcome. So, the usual difference between the course goal or objective between the learning outcome or instructional objective. So, course goal and objective say describe what an instructor or programs aim to do. So, I can say the course objective when you write, not instructional objective, simple course objective when you write, that means what a instructor want to do or what a program want to do. So, I can say that is teacher centric. So, like an example, this course will expose student to the major design method in the area of, let us say, analog electronics. When I say this, the course will expose the student to the major design method for analog electronics, that is what instructor want to cover. So, that is why it is called course objective or course goal. It is not written in the base of instructional objective of the course. Now, when I write down the learning outcome or instructional objective of the course, that is a statement described in observable and measurable terms what a learner is able to do after completing the course or program. So, this is instructor or program you can say objective or goal, but this is learner goal. That is why it is called outcome. Learner goal means what a learner has to achieve. This is wish of the teacher to cover in the program or course, but this is learner has to achieve. So, this is learner centric, this is teacher centric. So, when I write course goal or course object, only course objective, not in instructional objective, then it is teacher's goal or program goal. When I say course outcome or instructional objective, it is learner goal. Learner has to achieve it. Let us give an example. Given the specification for an auditorium or studio requirement, list the acoustical requirement and design the acoustic part auditorium or the studio. This has to be performed by the learner. So, after you complete the course, a learner will able to design the acoustic part of the auditorium or studio. But here the course will expose student to the major design methods in the area of acoustic design. So, that is teacher which want to cover, and this is student what they have to achieve or learner what they have to achieve. So, this is the difference between instructional objective and course goal or course objective. Course instructional objective, course goal or objective, program instructional objective or program objective. Okay. Once I write instructional objective, that means it is outcome. Why? Because every instructional objective must be specific, measurable and achievable, and that the student will able to do after receiving the instruction effect. So, instructional objective, when I say that after the receiving the instruction, after all things are finished, what a student should able to do, you have to write down that in specific, measurable and achievable manner. You cannot say, okay, student will appreciate my course. That may be a course objective, that is the teacher's centric or course goal. When I say outcome or instructional objective, that means what learner will able to not do. It is not what they appreciate, whether they appreciate or not does not matter, what they able to do, which is specific, measurable and achievable. So, to make a outcome or instructional objective specific, measurable and achievable, what I do? A instructional objective basically has three components: performance component, condition component and criteria component. It was observed that if an instructional objective contain these three components, then it is specific, measurable and achievable. What is measurable? Performance component. Specific, condition component. Achievable, criteria component. Okay. So, basic characteristics of instructional objective is action oriented statement. What learner will able to do, not okay, learner will appreciate this course, learner will understand this subject, learner will understand this principle or learner will know this principle, not that. They have to perform. An instructional objective intended learning outcome. What I said, instructional objective means outcome, specific and measurable, concerned with learner. So, it is learner centric. So, many times I will say outcome instead of instructional objective. So, outcomes are learner centric, not teacher centric. Okay. So, it has a three component or every outcome must have an action verbs. What I said in action verbs? Action verbs are those English verbs which are measurable. So, every outcome or instructional objective must associated with an action verb. If the action verb is not present, that means that statement is not measurable, that is why it cannot be an outcome or instructional objective. Okay. So, when I say the three component, the performance component, let us describe what is performance component. The performance component describe what learner able to do. Suppose somebody said, given this specification, you have to design this machine. So, specification will be given, I have to design that machine. Who? Learner. Now, whether the teacher will cover in the course, whether learner will run from Google, does not matter. Course want that at the end of the course your skill should be designing. So, that is why performance component. Performance can be covert and overt. Overt means which is directly visible, you have to design this machine visible. Covert performance like that, okay, after observing a dance performance, then you should able to appreciate that. Once I say that appreciate, or once I say that appreciate that dance, that is covert, but covert performance cannot be an instructional objective. If you want to make it instructional objective, break down the covert performance into a overt performance. So, for what are the criteria a person to observe on the dance performance, so that he can appreciate the dance performance? Example is music performance. Oh, appreciate, student will be able to appreciate that, let us appreciate the music performance. What are the skill student can listen or student can measure from the listening that music or observe in the music, so that they can appreciate it. So, any covert performance has to be broken down to overt performance, so that it becomes learner centric. Okay? Then the next component, condition component. It describes actual under what condition the student has to perform. Suppose I told multiply this 6-digit number with this 6-digit number, and he used the mobile phone calculator and do it. Then I said, no, you do not use the calculator. Then he said, sir, you have not told me to not use the calculator. So, when I give the instruction that you have to multiply this number by this number without using the calculator, that is a condition. So, condition component actually specify what will be given to the students. So, this will be given to the students for their performance. So, performance component, what student will able to do. Condition component, what will be provided to the student to do that. Tools, material, facility, so that measure that frequency using oscilloscope. Then you have to apply oscilloscope to measure that frequency. So, condition component actually said what will be given to the students. Then criteria component. This actually make that performance standard. How much performance is sufficient for this instruction? Suppose a institute said solve differential equation, then the institute program, particular for that program, they thought that up to second order differential equation is sufficient. So, I can say solve second order differential equation. So, the second order is the criteria, okay, that is sufficient. So, how much, how often? So, that is called criteria of that instruction. So, what I can say? The condition component will be what will be given to the students, performance component is what they have to perform, criteria component specify up to what level they have to perform. So, when you write an outcome, be sure that what will be given to the students, what they have to perform, up to what level. If you are able to define these three things in a sentence or in an outcome, then your outcomes become specific, measurable and achievable. Sometimes people thought, oh, outcome may be a very single line statement. Outcome is not a single line statement. Outcome should be specific, measurable and achievable. It can be a paragraph, does not matter, but it should be specific, measurable and achievable. So, outcome is not a single line statement, it may be a paragraph, but it should be specific, measurable and achievable. So, again I am saying A outcome consists of three components: condition component, criteria component, performance component. Condition component define what will be given to the learner, performance component define what they have to perform, and criteria component define up to what level they have to perform, or up to what perfection they have to perform, or within what time they have to perform. So, criteria component basically define the level of the, you can say, the outcome. I can say up to this level is sufficient. So, that level is defined by the criteria component. If you see, the criteria component actually speed, time, limit performance, maximum, minimum marks, how often, level of accuracy, quality of the performance. So, all are part of performance component. Okay. Now, let us give an example. Suppose this is the example: write an customer reply letter with no spelling mistake using a word processor. This is my outcome. So, if I say find out the observable action, write a customer reply letter, that I have to, a learner has to perform that. What is given? Given a word processor. So, word processor is given, it is not that without word processor. What is the criteria I want? Without any spelling mistake. So, performance component, condition component, criteria component. Similarly, copy a table from a spreadsheet into a word processor document within 3 minutes without reference to the manual. So, performance component, copy a table from spreadsheet to the word processor document. Condition, without reference to the manual. Criteria, within 3 minutes. Let us give you an example on technical side. The student will able to design the amateur winding of a DC machine of prescribed specification by understanding the basic terminology used for it. So, if I say performance, what is the performance component? I am not saying whether this is achievable, specific or measurable. Don't, let us not comment on that. First, find out if this is my outcome, what is the performance component? So, performance component is design the amateur winding of a DC machine. What is the condition component? The prescribed specification will be given and understand the basic terminology. So, actually it is using basic terminology. So, specific for a given specification I can say. So, if I see, if I rewrite this outcome, so condition component is that specification is given, student has to design the amateur winding of a DC machine. What another condition? Using the basic terminology of this subject or amateur winding. So, criteria component is not there. I have not said what kind of DC machine is there or what precision I want the design, that I have not given. But condition measurable is the design the amateur winding of a DC machine performance. What is given? Specification is given and all the terminology you have to use. Let us this one, use numerical method for solve first and second order ordinary differential equation and compute numerical integration. Find out the performance component first, solve first and second order ordinary differential equation and compute numerical integration. So, those two are performance component. What is the condition component? Use numerical methods. Given the specification of an acoustic room, determine the reverberation time, mean free path, number of reflection per second, room notes, minimum volume for large room acoustics. Performance component determine all those parameters. Condition component given the specification of an acoustic room. Criteria component is not there. So, it is not true that criteria component has to be there. If it is performance is very broad, then you can say criteria component you must put there, make the performance in limited. Okay. So, when you write any outcome, think about which is performance component, which is condition component, which is criteria component. Okay. Another example, given the specification of an auditorium studio requirement, list the acoustical requirement and design the acoustic part. So, performance list the acoustical requirement and design the acoustical part. Condition given the specification of auditorium or studio. Another example, given an English language problem description, define the problem precisely with input output requirement, examine its inherent complexity and develop a generic or set of initial solution and justify their correctness. So, performance here to here, condition given a set of program consists of categorize them constriction, categorize them. So, if you read that categorize them, design, performance given the set of construct, condition. So, for any given outcome you can easily find out which one is the condition component, which one is the criteria component and which one is the performance component. Okay. Now, cognitive level. So, any outcome when you write, there should be a cognitive level of the outcome if it is a theoretical course. What is the level? Knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, evaluation. Now, suppose this is my outcome, given the specification, what is the action verb, what is the English verb is there? Given the specification of auditorium, so first action verb is list, second action verb is design. So, once you read the outcome, find out the action verbs. So, if you see the list of my action verb in that first lectures, the list is knowledge level, design is synthesis level. So, the cognitive level of this outcome is synthesis, because Bloom says if a learner will achieve higher level, it was assumed that the lower level is already achieved. That is why the cognitive level of this outcome is synthesis. Determine is the action verb in this outcome. So, determine is analysis level. Now, this is my outcome which I already described. What are the action verb present in this outcome? Define, examine, develop, justify. So, define, examine, develop, justify. If you see the list, define is knowledge level, examine is comprehension level, developed is synthesis level, justify is evaluation level. So, no sorry, examine is analysis level. So, knowledge level, analysis level, synthesis level, evaluation level. So, what is the cognitive level of this outcome? Evaluation. Because the highest level is evaluation. Describe the fundamental concept of software quality measurement. So, action verb is describe. Which level? Knowledge level. Discuss the basic concept of coding. Discuss guideline to be followed during coding of a software and the coding standard. So, discuss comprehension level. So, when I told you identify the cognitive level of that outcome, first underline the action verbs, then find out the which action verbs belongs to which cognitive level. When I give you an outcome, find out the condition component and criteria component, you can find out, okay, this is the given. So, this is condition component, this is criteria component. Okay. Now, some of the common mistake which are done in outcome I will discuss. So, first mistake, incorrect cognitive level. If you see written, apply basic law of EM waves like this law to different charge configuration like this, volume, this. And since it is apply action verb is there, it is application level, but this is wrong. What application level says? Apply the concept in a new situation. So, apply basic law of EM waves is not the performance of the learner. So, they have to use the basic law of EM waves, but not the performance. What is the performance? Suppose they know what use of EM waves, then what has to be done? Either they have to calculate, they have to determine, they have to solve, that is not there. So, this apply is not application level. Apply abstraction mechanism to identify the metadata element. This apply is not application level. What I said? Apply Newton's second law of motion is not an application level outcome. Why? Because Newton's second law of motion is a concept. Then in which new situation I applied it? Never mentioned. So, instead of apply Newton's second law of motion, if I say for a given mass and acceleration, calculate the force, this calculate is in application level based on Newton's second law of motion. So, this is a common mistake done by many. I think I have found whatever I seen outcome of the course in my portal, most of the maximum number of mistake is happening here. Everybody said apply law of thermodynamics, application level, apply law of this level, application level, but that is not application level. When I say apply, then you have to think, is it a new situation or it is just what is the situation? So, do not write like this way, they apply abstraction mechanism to identify the metadata element. Here identify the metadata element is the performance. So, identify is the action verb, not apply. Apply is not belongs to cognitive level of application. The apply is not the action verb here. Here the identify is the action verb. So, I can say the cognitive level of this outcome is identify, knowledge level, not application level. Okay. So, in the next lecture, I will describe another other type of mistakes which we have done in writing outcome. Okay. Thank you.